What's up, Buttercup? Welcome back to my channel for today's nonfiction book review, The Butchering Art by Lindsey Fitzharris. I'm just gonna zoom in with the cover because it's gorgeous. Gorgeous. Now, this is about Joseph Lister's quest to transform the grisly world of Victorian medicine. Now, people, while I was reading this, and it only took 2 days, okay? I ate this up. People were like, are you okay? Are you trying to kill people with the butchering art? Like, what are we doing here? And I was like, yeah, I don't know where you're getting that I'm a serial killer, but thank you. Not. It is actually a reference to the phrase, the butchering art, that was used in the Victorian era because surgery was so deadly, and really the medical professionals, some of them medical professionals, some like Joseph Lister actually really took it seriously and, you know, made it better. But some of them were very much like butchers, and they just chopped off your limbs and didn't do a great job, but they were trying to perfect the art of surgery and to make amputation as fast as possible. And they thought in some way they were correct, but in most ways they were not, that if you did it really fast, then there was a lower chance that the patient would die. Well, their problem that Joseph Lister nearly solved for, you know, the Victorian era is they did not know about, and then a lot of them for quite some time didn't believe in germs. So this book does focus on Joseph Lister. However, it does go into how he discovered germs in some way or another. The technology to actually really look at what germs looked like wasn't there yet, but he did see, like, for example, flesh decaying. So then that told him, oh, there is some type of thing, animal, let's just go with thing, because that was like above and beyond the Victorian era. There's this thing that is eating away at people's flesh, and it's an infection, and that's why there's an infection, and that's why people get sick and die. It's not because of the air smelling bad, it's an actual thing, germs that are being passed around. And so this was mind-blowing for people, and there were quite a few people that pushed back on the routine that Joseph Lister set up for cleaning before, keeping everything sterile during the surgery, and then cleaning after. We in the 21st century were like, of course it makes sense, but back then they did not understand. So this was a life process for Joseph Lister and his medical students and medical professionals that looked at the evidence and all of his work and study and peer reviews, and they were like, I conclude that you're correct. And so therefore followed his cleaning advice. That sounds so weird, but yeah, it's basically cleaning up and keeping everything sterile, and that dramatically decreased infection and death. And I just found that absolutely fascinating. What I also found fascinating is later in Joseph's life, he actually performed surgery on like a bulge, probably a cyst, not 100% clear on what it was, on Queen Victoria. And so after that successful surgery, and she was all well and good, there was no infection, she didn't have sepsis or anything like that, people really took Joseph Lister seriously, and I understand. And I will give props to Queen Victoria. Most of the time I do not, for various reasons. But she read the evidence and she heard other medical professionals saying that he is legit, and she trusted them, and then therefore trusted Joseph Lister, and the surgery was successful. Mad props. I'll give that to you, Victoria. And I thought this was a fascinating biography. It's a biography on specifically Joseph Lister, even though Lindsey Fitzharris talks about other medical professionals that were really popular and trying to figure out germ theory as well, or just not maybe even trying to figure out germs and how to reduce germs and infection. They were just trying to figure out how to keep patients alive, because for a very, very, very long time, most people died either on the surgery table or after surgery, and they just couldn't figure out why. But Joseph Lister, with his background of being a Quaker and wanting to help people and having so much compassion for these patients, just couldn't stand seeing so many people suffer and die. And so that's how he started this process and his studies, and I just appreciate Joseph Lister. He did not, fun fact, found and created the product Listerine, but it was inspired by Lister. And I said in my reading TBR for this month that he was the one that discovered that if you wash your hands before a birth or a surgery, then they're most likely not going to die, because germs. Disgusting. Yeah. But so that was someone else, and he did a peer-reviewed study. Very impressive. He had a bunch of medical professionals and students, whoever wanted to do it. There were a lot of people who were like, no, this is stupid, so they didn't work with him. But he did the study where there were a set of men that washed their hands before a birth of a child, and ones that did not, and those were the ones that were normal. So they would go into surgery, they would end the surgery, and then they would go into a birth. No washing of the hands. Yeah, so of course, the women giving birth would often have some type of infection and or die, because you're not washing your hands. Oh, and there were quite a few where they were touching corpses, didn't wash their hands, and then went into and delivered babies. And not just the women died, but the babies also. There was a high infant mortality rate, which is disgusting. However, this doctor saw that the midwives were having a better time with keeping their patients alive, and it was because they weren't going to surgery, or they weren't touching dead bodies. Oh, wow. I mean, they weren't necessarily washing their hands many times, but at least they weren't touching dead bodies and sawing off legs before and then not washing their hands. The doctor's hands were just covered in disgustingness, and then they would deliver a baby, and that's disgusting. How many times am I gonna say that? Many times, people, because I just don't want to picture that, but I am picturing it in my mind right now. Sorry if I'm doing that to you as well, but this was the reality up until this particular doctor. And you know what was really sad? He did all of this peer review. He did all of these studies. And I'm pretty sure it was in the Netherlands, or like it was a Scandinavian country. sorry. But it was not in England, it was not in America, it was in a different European country, small European country. And so he did all of this, and so he delivered his findings, and he was like, this is how we stop patients from dying. Are you gonna, follow my advice? Like, here's all my peer reviews, here's my studies, here's my evidence. I am solid in the knowing that this is how we stop so many people from dying. And people thought he was crazy, and they did not follow his advice for many, many years. And then he went crazy, and he was put into a insane asylum. Really, we're talking about important stuff, and people are acting a fool outside. Sorry. I don't know what they're doing outside, but it was very loud. Pardon me. So he was put into a insane asylum, and he died in the insane asylum, and he was screaming most days about washing your hands and how that helps decrease infection and mortality rates. And I just feel so sad about that now, and I teared up when I read that. Now, Lindsey Fitzharris is a fantastic writer. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. It was like she was talking to me instead of, I don't know, like in a scholarly, preachy way. She writes like we're having a conversation, and she's so excited about Joseph Lister that she made me excited. I laughed, I cried, I was shocked, I was wowed, I felt all the feelings, and it was 2 days. I finished this in 2 days, people. I highly recommend this book if you are interested in Victorian medical history and or Joseph Lister. I do want to also note that carbolic acid was the key. It killed a lot of germs, and so he didn't discover it, he used it, and that was really the game changer, as well as washing hands and cleaning, and cleaning the tools of surgery. Yes, because for quite some time, you didn't wash or even rinse off the tools for surgery. So yeah, you can just picture how disgusting surgery is, and that's why it was so dangerous until Joseph Lister came onto the scene and said, this is not how it's supposed to be. I'm going to do everything in my power to change that. And he did. And we just thank Joseph Lister and all of his medical students and the medical professionals that looked at his evidence and said, that's correct. I will do the same because I do not want to have so many patients die. And he changed the world with his germ theory and his cleaning routine for surgery, during surgery, and after surgery. We do appreciate Joseph Lister. Thank you so much for watching the Butchering Art review. I hope you have a great day doing whatever you need to do for self-care. That could include reading about the butchering art of the Victorian era medical scene, or something a little nicer. But either way, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.